Hey, what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, and I'm going to give you guys another little slice of storytelling from my journey that I've been on here for a long time of playing music, playing guitar, learning guitar. And this is a special one to me. It's about making your dreams come true, and you could also consider it kind of a form of manifesting. There's been a lot of things that I've dreamed of doing that have come true, and I feel so fortunate. I don't really think it's magic, but there is a mystery to it as well. So I'm going to talk about not the band that inspired me to love music, but the specific band that came along at a specific time, perfect timing, fate, whatever have you, that made me pick up an instrument, right? So I had always loved music, but there's a time when you're a teenager comes along, and then other elements, environmental elements, all these things come together. And there was one for me that inspired me to pick up an instrument that then led me to playing guitar, which then led me to having this whole thing, this career where I'm now in front of you talking about my journey, which has gone by really fast. I mean, just YouTube alone is approaching 20 years. And I had a good decade before that of playing gigs and teaching guitar lessons. And it cuts back to about 1992 when I was in high school, and it was a summer break. And I saw Santana. This is in Southern California. I saw Santana, so I was kind of getting more into like classic rock, like Santana and the Allman Brothers specifically, Sly and the Family Stone, the Grateful Dead, obviously the Beatles, Rolling Stone, but some of that improvisational music, especially the Allman Brothers and Santana, was part of that as well. And I saw Santana as a teenager. I did not play guitar. I didn't think I had any musical ability. Never thought I would ever play guitar, much less do guitar for a living, much less where we're sitting right now with this platform I have. So I saw Santana, and this band I had never heard of came out to open the show. And they were playing that improvisational, psychedelic, classic rock vibe, but they were a new band, only maybe 6 to 10 years older than me. They're ranging in age, but just a little bit older than me. So whereas Santana and the Allman Brothers were a much, later generation, this new band I was seeing was closer to my generation. So I connected to the fact that they were a new band, but kind of doing this throwback style. The singing really stood out. It was amazing, but then all the improvisation, the guitar solos stood out. And then especially the harmonica playing, which I'd never heard anyone play a harmonica like that, where he was playing it more like a virtuoso style electric guitar player, like a Jimi Hendrix, but on harmonica. I'd never heard that before. I'd only heard like kind of Bob Dylan, Neil Young folk style. And so this guy was singing amazing and doing this thing on harmonica that I'd never heard before. It just hit me hard. And obviously, you can see from the title and everything, you already know, it was the band Blues Traveler. They're still touring to this day. They've been through a lot in their own journey. They even had a couple of really big hit songs. But they inspired me so much that I immediately, the following couple of days later, they only had their first 2 albums out at the time. First one's called Blues Traveler, second one's called Travelers and Thieves. I bought those 2 albums immediately, and for the next probably 3 months, wore both of those CDs out in my car. Now, I'm Gen X. The Gen Xers, anyone knows out there, my Gen Xers, shout out. We had CD players in our car. That was a really big deal. Our car was our freedom, and our CD player, not everyone was lucky enough to have a CD player. I worked at the movie theater, earned enough money to buy my own CD player and pay for gas and buy CDs. And man, I wore those Blues Traveler CDs out. It was before the internet, and I'd never heard of them before, and I think it was one of the first times they'd ever made it to the West Coast. They were getting bigger, because they're from New York, they were getting bigger on the East Coast, And a couple of my friends that were at boarding schools on the East Coast, when I brought Blues Traveler up to them, they had heard of them. And so I started to like kind of find a few other friends that knew them, and then anyone that would listen to me and get sick of me talking about how much I love them and sharing how cool I thought they were. And then eventually along the way, that led me to then discovering what would later be called jam bands. So then I discovered the band Fish and Widespread Panic and Spin Doctors, and the list goes on and on. I ended up being in jam bands myself, playing some of those festivals. But what I loved, I was obsessed with their music, and harmonicas were really affordable. Guitars were not as affordable. And so just on a whim, just because I was so like kind of obsessed with the band at the time. Also, they have a song called Alone, which I was in high school at the time, and it was like kind of about, the girl that he was in love with that didn't love him back. And I just really, I'm 17, so I was like kind of relating to the different girls that I had crushes on that like didn't like me back. And so somehow I was really deeply connecting to some of the lyrical stuff there, as well as loving the music. I went into a music store, within months of just being obsessed with them, and I bought a harmonica. I remember I like somehow found out what kind of harmonica he played. Hohner Special 20, I still remember. And I went in, and it was $20, Special 20, $20. And knew nothing about keys, knew nothing about music, knew nothing about guitar, knew nothing about anything about music. And so I just bought a C harmonica, because that's the key that they sell you the most, is the key of C harmonica. So I bought a C harmonica, and I would just, blow and inhale into this thing along to their music. None of it was really in the right key. I'm trying to think even which songs they would have had at the time that were in the right key for that. But it didn't matter. I was just noodling around, not playing well, but just in the privacy of my own car, playing harmonica along the Blues Traveler. And at some point, I accidentally bent the note like you would on guitar. And I discovered a little blues lick, like a little on harmonica, that kind of vibe. And so the next thing I know, I've got a couple little blues licks, but I don't know what I'm doing at all. And a few of my friends who I'm still close friends with, shout out to one specific friend, Brian Rashap, who actually now plays in an awesome band called the Mother Hips. And he was also Grateful Dead's Phil Lesh, specifically bass tech and production manager. So he's had his own cool journey, but he was playing guitar pretty well at that point. And so by senior year of my high school, some of my friends started playing guitars together, and I got to, instead of just watch, I got to try and play harmonica with them, to play along so I could be a part of the magic instead of just watching the magic. People playing guitar was always magic to me, and I just didn't think that I had the musical. I thought you had to have some special gift or musical ability to play an instrument. I thought there was some magic involved, and clearly there's more natural people than others, but I think anyone can learn guitar now, and I've talked about that in another video. But so anyway, my next step was getting to play harmonica with some of my friends. And at some point, there wasn't the internet. You couldn't just look up all these tutorials, and there were no harmonica lessons at music stores. So I just kind of dabbled, and by listening to a lot of music, mostly Allman Brothers, but I listened to like Muddy Waters. I listened to Sly and the Family Stone. Allman Brothers had harmonica sometimes. I just started to seek out other harmonica music besides just Blues Traveler. But what I do want to say is that, and I've talked about it in another video, hanging around with my friends playing guitar, but playing harmonica, led me to being able to then start to learn guitar from my peers, not from a guitar teacher. That's another video about me learning guitar, but that was the start of it, because I was playing harmonica with my friends because I saw Blues Traveler open for Santana that inspired me enough to get obsessed with their music and pick up a harmonica to just start learning. And then that led me down this journey of playing guitar and then really getting more serious about music and learning and being really thirsty for music knowledge. But I want to say something about this because I've done this in other parts of my life. But something I did a lot was when I was playing harmonica and later guitar, because I learned a lot of Blues Traveler on guitar later. But something about that I think is really amazing and cool, and it's like I don't want to like think about it too much because it like trips me out. But I spent a lot of time closing my eyes and playing along and like imagining I was on stage with them because I was young. You have heroes. I don't really close my eyes and imagine playing with anyone anymore. But I would visualize, and I wasn't trying to make it come true. It was like my fantasy. I wasn't trying to make it come true. I wasn't like someday I'm going to play on stage with Blues Traveler. I wasn't thinking that, but I would sit and close my eyes to the music and imagine that I was on stage with them. And then as I got better at guitar, so about 2 years after that initial harmonica purchase, I would be on, playing along. And one of the songs on guitar especially I loved, and this is before Run Around and Hook and all that. It's really still just the first 2 and 3 albums. I loved this song called Mulling It Over. They just jammed, there's just all, it's very soulful, but I would close my eyes, imagine. And, furthered my love of other music. So I didn't just listen to Blues Traveler, and I got deeper into all kinds of music, but that was this little, Blues Traveler's the specific catalyst for me playing an instrument. I love the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Cat Stevens, Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead, Sly and the Family Stone, James Brown, the Meters, and then the list has gone on, and it's all over the place. I've taught probably over close to 6,000 songs on YouTube alone, and all over the place. But something that was really interesting that happened, I went to college, and I didn't think I was good enough to be a music major. I didn't know music theory or how to read music. I just loved to jam. I was obsessed with playing guitar. It's what I did all day, every day. But I didn't think that I had that sauce to actually study it. I thought, you had to really be trained in music. So I just decided at first to minor in music, and I was majoring in film. And minoring in music was a way for me to learn more. It wasn't, all I thought about was just how do I learn more about music. And so I took this recording class. And once again, remind you, this is pre-internet, pre-YouTube. Now we can look up anything. But at the time, you had to seek out a class, a lesson. You had to go into a room and find a teacher. And so I went into this recording class, and this was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, a college called the College of Santa Fe, a little old art school, liberal art school that had a great film program at the time. And the music program wasn't, widely known or anything. So I went into this recording class, and it was taught by a guy named John O. Manson, who was from New York. For some reason, he moved to Santa Fe. Very weird reasons why anyone moves to Santa Fe, because it's kind of like an escape, because it's a tiny little fishbowl. But this guy, John O. Manson, he was a real charismatic New Yorker teaching music recording in this recording studio. I'm sitting there, and somehow he mentions Blues Traveler, and I just light up, and I was like, Blues Traveler, what? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, you know Blues Traveler? He's like, I taught them everything they know. No, I didn't teach them everything I know, but I taught them everything they know. And then I go back to the liner notes of Blues Traveler's album. I think it's Travelers and Thieves. And it's the very first thank you in the liner notes is, "We want to thank John O'Manson." So next thing I know, this weird, you could call it destiny or whatever. Now I'm getting actually taught and mentored by Blues Traveler's mentor completely randomly in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so huge shout out. You can check out John O'Manson. He's still out there. He produces lots of records, and he's in Santa Fe still. He has worked a lot with Blues Traveler and John Popper. They play together. He's done all kinds of music, and he's a great guy. And so he ended up becoming one of my other mentors, which was just this, weird kind of connection. But now I want to talk about that manifestation. So I used to close my eyes and imagine playing with Blues Traveler, not thinking that would ever come true, but then cut to way, way after the closing my eyes and thinking that. This would have been, well, I know when it was. It was in October of 2015. So I was just about to launch Marty Music. My career was in a hiatus because of beep, 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 beep. But I was about to launch my brand new version of Marty Music, which is still here. And I was able to use some of those contacts and connections and actually get an invite to make that dream come true and play on stage with Blues Traveler. And I traded licks with John Popper like I imagined when I closed my eyes so many years earlier. The whole thing came true. And I got to have my family was there. And my family was like, when I was first learning music, they were pretty annoyed. I had used to have kind of sores on my lips from playing so much harmonica. And they were just kind of sick of Blues Traveler and all that music I was listening to because I was so obsessed with it. So 93 to 2015 or 92, we're talking over 20 years later. Now I'm, have a professional career music related. So my parents are now, my friends and family are now understand that I'm going to do music, and they're proud of me and everything. And I get to go up and play with Blues Traveler with friends and family in the audience. I think my mom was crying, and my friends were there, and they were all very proud of me. It was a real full circle moment. And they even asked me, they said, "What song do you want to play?" So I got to pick the song. Within reason, probably. I wasn't going to pick some weird deep cut. They're like, "What song do you want to play?" And I said, "I want to play, if it's cool, I want to play Mulling It Over." And John Popper, they didn't know who I was really much. In fact, John Popper was asking me about YouTube as a career, and he was curious about that and what that entailed, and we got to know them. And so I'm backstage with them, and they're like, "Hey," I didn't do sound checking or anything, and they said, "Hey, let's run it real quick, just acoustically in the backstage, make sure I wasn't going to embarrass them," kind of thing. So I was like, yep, no, I promise you guys, you have no idea what this means to me. You guys have had a huge impact. You guys inspire me. I got to tell Popper that he inspired me to pick up an instrument. I got to tell them everything. I'm still in touch with them now, and I'm a big supporter and advocate for them. But anyway, we run through Mulling It Over to make sure I'm not going to embarrass them. And John Popper goes, wait. There's this very specific ending of this song that, we're going to have to go over. And I tell him, I'm like, "Oh no, I know the ending. I know it. You don't understand. I know it really well." He's like, "Okay, well, let's get to the end and just make sure." 'Cause he wasn't convinced, right? And it's something like the hits, dun 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 dun, and we're playing. He's all right, no more questions here. We got this. And he just like got up and left. Like, okay, we got this, no problem. And then I got to do the whole thing. And it was just one of those crazy dreams come true. Now, another one of those, I'm going to show you the footage right now. We've got it right here. We're going to cut to the clip. But real quick, I made this exact same manifestation happen multiple times in my life, whether it's my YouTube career. I dreamed it up first and worked hard and then made it true. But one of the other craziest ones ever is, like, if anyone grew up with me, they know a few of the things that I was like obsessed with at certain times in my life. My whole childhood, I was obsessed with Star Wars. And I actually went to high school with someone that's currently pretty big star in a Star Wars entity. I won't say who yet. And he really made his dreams come true. I won't say who that is yet. But someone from the modern era of Star Wars, who's one of the biggest movie stars in the world today. I went to high school with him. And he dreamt of being an actor. And we were about 13 years old when he said that. And his career didn't take off till he was about 40. So we'll leave that there. I don't want to exploit. But one of the other crazy things I was obsessed with was Star Wars, Blues Traveler, and Tenacious D. I was because I was now a touring musician. I was obsessed with Tenacious D's original HBO series and then anything they did ever since. And then when the movie School of Rock came out, I was doing that in real life, so I loved them all even more. And Jack Black was definitely on the top of my list. If I could meet any one of my heroes, it would have been Jack Black. Well, I met Jack Black, and I've hung out with Tenacious D. And I don't know how I was able to do that. But these things are real. And so it's fun to share this, let you guys get to know me a little bit beyond just learning Smells Like Teen Spirit or Nothing Else Matters. So thank you for watching this story. Without further ado, here is one of my surreal, making my dreams come true moments. Marty Schwartz with Blues Traveler playing Mulling It Over.
star. I wish I could play the electric guitar. Singing up a six-man body, body, body. I wish it was more than crumbs I could buy. my good friend John O'Manson, and he's on YouTube teaching guitar. He's got like 500 million hits. Every 40 seconds. It's frankly terrifying.